The Talisman, written by Stephen King and Peter Straub, is a terrific book. It is an amazing book. This book has influenced me since I was a younger kid and teenager, and influenced me even up to my adult life up till now. And I find this book to be a kind of talisman of its own, a kind of talisman for the mind. The book is about many things, and one of those things is magic itself. And the book has a gritty kind of verisimilitude while also having fantasy and escape. And it's very interesting how the writers are able to pull this off. Now, the magic in the book is pretty remarkable because it deals with worlds. It deals with different worlds, specifically the two main worlds, America and then the territories, as it's called in this book. And it's a very unique idea to think that you could just flip over to the territories or back to America. And I definitely find that to be a very interesting thing. And often that idea as a younger kid inspired me to think about my own stories and kind of the way in which I communicate different worlds and the way in which I describe them. There's also something visceral about the actual quality of the magic and of these worlds. Jack Sawyer, who walks all the way from New Hampshire to California, basically hitchhiking but also walking a lot, and it's just very remarkable the way that all of this plays out. I think that the world aspect, the world building of this book is unparalleled, and unless you're talking about other seminal works such as Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or some of these other books in fantasy, nothing comes close to this book for capturing, in my estimation, differing places and differing things that we experience by way of fiction. Now, there is a lot to talk about in this book. You might be wondering what the talisman is itself. I don't want to give it away, but the talisman is described as something that you can't drop. It's almost like a crystal ball, and it is supposed to be the cure to Jack Sawyer's mother, Lily, her disease, her cancer. It's supposed to be a cure for that. And so, in following the kind of hero's journey that we definitely are accustomed to seeing but always enjoy, Jack Sawyer embarks on a journey across America and the territories to be able to get this talisman and to be able to save his mother. Now, Jack Sawyer, speaking of the kind of collision of worlds, is definitely a kind of composite of many different characters. There's, of course, Tom Sawyer, as is implicated by his last name. But there's also Jack and the Beanstalk, who is referenced as well. And then there's the proliferation of trees, which could be inspired a little bit by Tolkien's trees in Lord of the Rings. And then there's also other things as well to consider. And so Jack Sawyer and this book is an amalgamation of so many different worlds coming together in a very magical way. Now, but one thing that I think makes the book really interesting is that the book focuses a lot on character growth. So there are moments in this book where Jack Sawyer admits his own weaknesses. I mean, he's literally only a 12-year-old boy hitchhiking across America. How is he going to succeed? And this is definitely something that you're left to wonder as a reader. But without giving too much away, you see that this character changes and he becomes stronger and stronger. So for example, when he's at the pitcher plant, he goes through a lot of trials, but he becomes stronger and stronger by way of those trials. In fact, part 2 is called The Road of Trials, and these are the things that make him stronger. And so by the time he gets to the Sunlight Home, I won't give very much away, but by the time he gets there, he's definitely ready for action. He's ready to fight, even though he's still in the Sunlight Home and other places, still experiences a lot of abuse and torment from the people around him who are hurting him. But that is a powerful theme. Jack Sawyer being tough enough to be able to engage with the world and to be able to stand up for himself and to be able to care for other people, such as his mom, and to be able to be true, as Speedy, who is another character, describes to Jack Sawyer. That helps him realize the ways in which he's strong and that he can do this. He can hitchhike across America, and he can be brave, and he can save his mother. And these are very powerful themes. When I think of the notions of round characters versus flat characters, I think that the Talisman is a very good case study of characters who do grow and change, and Jack Sawyer is definitely a quintessential character who changes by way of his kind of adventures and by way of his determination. Jack Sawyer is not the same person that he was at the beginning of the text. He continually grows, and he continually, with bravery and courage, continues to confront the dragons and the demons and all of these things that he is confronting, and he becomes a better person for it. And I think that this is a great theme for thinking of ways for ourselves to be able to continue to grow as people, to be able to grow strong because of adversity, to be able to get through these things no matter how hard it is. I think the characterization in this book is amazing. There are wonderful characters. Jack Sawyer, of course, but also Wolf, who is definitely one of the most memorable characters in my own imagination, as well as Sunlight Gardener and Morgan, who's the enemy, the main villain, as well as Richard. And there are all these characters that are highly, just wonderfully well developed, and it makes you want to continue to read this story because it's just so remarkable. Now, I'll admit I could go on forever about this book. There is very much here to be able to talk about, but I don't want to give too much away. But I do recommend it. I think the language is very clear. The writing is very clear, but also evocative and artistic. And a lot of the writing captures the elements of the plot and the characters and other elements that are really important in books. You could read it as an escape, but there also are a lot of adult themes in this book, a lot of very hard, heavy themes. And that to me is what makes this book really interesting, is that it is almost allegorical, that the goal of human life is to continue to grow, to continue to be courageous, and to continue to do difficult things, to be able to continue to be a part of the hero's journey, and to be able to achieve the things that are most important to you, and to sacrifice for the well-being of other people. This is something that the characters are constantly doing in this book, and it is very, very intelligent, and I love it. And it has influenced my own life and my own being. It's made me think of the question of what kind of person do I want to be? What do I want to accomplish in my life? And what am I willing to sacrifice to be able to contribute to the greater good? And all of this is something that I think about with this book. But it is also the story of a boy, and as I read this book as a boy myself, there's definitely a lot of attachment to these ideas of childhood and boyhood as being the place where we discover ourselves and where we continue to have our own journeys. And I think that it's a very powerful theme. And I will not forget this book. In fact, the reason why I reread it is because I wanted to revisit some of these things and to see how much I've changed as a person, but also how much I've grown as a person. So yeah, definitely check this book out. There's a lot there, and I think that you will enjoy it. Just be aware that it is a longer read, so you definitely will have to dedicate some time to it, but I say that it's completely worth it. So yeah, I'm Phoenix, and I appreciate you stopping by to listen to my review of The Talisman, and I will see you around. Thank you for watching.